Hello guys and welcome back to Premier League predictions, Sophie. The final games before another international break. How are you? And set us a like target.
Yeah, I'm well, and let's go 4,000 likes again. We were very close last time and I think we can hit it this time.
Yeah, last week we got 3,800. We're so close. Let's do it this time. Everyone take 2 seconds and we will finally do 4,000 likes. It would be amazing to do it and we keep getting so close. While you're there, make sure you are subscribed as well. Help this channel get to 78,000 subscribers before the international break. And let's look at the predictions from last week, Sophie, where I just about beat you. Look,
yeah, you did well.
I'm doing all right at the moment.
Yeah, you're catching up nicely.
You're still ahead though, that's the main thing, and I've got to try and win again. Let's get into the predictions for this week. We start at Selhurst Park. It's Crystal Palace versus Liverpool. Now, Crystal Palace, Sophie, who would have thought after 6 games they'd be winless?
Yeah, I know, especially given their last game as well. You'd think, oh, they'll get something from that. And they didn't.
Well,
you think, well, I know you called it, so well done on that one, but I didn't see that happening.
Well, I did, yes. I went Everton 2, Palace 1, and I just think when it comes down to a relegation 6-pointer, even this early in the season,
Dyche is the man.
You don't want to go head-to-head against Everton because although they're pretty rubbish for some of the season, when it matters, they seem to raise their game.
True.
And now they're taking on another Merseyside opposition, but this one is top of the table, Sophie. Yeah. And Liverpool are going along like a train. Do you know what? I mean, I would not be surprised if Palace turn up and actually fight now that it's like the most difficult game. But whatever happens, I just think Liverpool will find a way to win. I'm going to go Palace 1, Liverpool 2. So I think it might be close, but Liverpool are going to win.
Yeah, do you know what? I might say 3-1 Liverpool. I think it's going to be 2-1 until the end stages and then Liverpool just snatch another. I have been quite impressed with Liverpool so far this season under Arne Slot. But there's definitely, they're not perfect. And by no means, there's no team in the Premier League that are perfect. Some teams come very close, but there's definitely areas where you can exploit them. We saw that when Wolves played them last week and throughout the beginning of the season, actually. So Selhurst Park can be a very, very difficult place to go. I either think it's going to be a draw or a Liverpool win. I know that sounds like, oh, just double chance, like hedging my bets, but I wouldn't be that surprised if it was a draw either. I'm not going to go as far to say that Palace will pick up their first win here, but yeah, I think they could make it really difficult, but I'm not going to back it. I think Liverpool's quality is going to shine through, so yeah, 3-1.
There you go. Share your thoughts on that game, guys. Do bear in mind Liverpool are playing Bologna at home in the Champions League this week as well. Next up, it's Arsenal versus Southampton. Southampton are still one of 5 teams to have not won after 6 games. They take on Arsenal, and Arsenal are still chugging along. Yes, they're playing PSG in the Champions League this week, but last time in the Premier League, it was a 4-2 win against Leicester. Goodness me, they left it late.
They left it very late, and then just added an extra one for good measure. Yeah,
but it must have felt nice to the Arsenal fans scoring late goals after conceding late goals against Manchester City. One late goal, should I say. I've got to fancy Arsenal here. 3-0.
Yeah, I might go 2-0 Arsenal. Could be more, but yeah, I think against Leicester, I know it was like 4-2, but I don't think that was Arsenal at their best. They didn't look as solid as they have defensively, which is annoying because I have one of their defenders in my fantasy football team. So a little bit annoying. But yeah, against Southampton, I just don't fancy Southampton getting anything here. They've not shown enough fight for me. The way they play sometimes I think can be exploited by some real quality, and I think that's going to happen. So Arsenal 2-0 for me. Arsenal
2-0, yeah. Share your thoughts, guys. We both think it should be comfortable-ish, but would be interesting to see Southampton cause them some problems. The next game, Sophie, is a big one. It's Brentford versus Wolves. Wolves need a result. They are winless after 6 games. Okay, they played Liverpool last week. It's difficult. They only lost 2-1, so it's not like they're atrociously bad. But still, they need to get a win soon, and they take on Brentford, who are going to score in the first minute, let's be honest.
Yeah, that's so weird.
They've done that 3 games in a row.
3 games in a row, they've scored so quickly.
Wolves have just got to set out their game plan. Well, what are we going to do once Brentford have scored that first minute goal? Do you know what? I mean, Brentford have probably got to be slight favourites, but I'm going to be bold this week. I reckon Wolves are going to get their first win here because they've just played Liverpool.
Yeah.
Next week they've got Man City, and then they've got Brighton away. They need to win somewhere, and maybe this is the one they win. Brentford 1, Wolves 2.
I'm actually going to go for a Desmond in this one. What we have seen from Wolves is they've not picked up the 3 points yet, but they have been in games at times and they have been scoring. That doesn't seem to be an issue. Equally, with Brentford, we've seen that they like to score very early on, and they're, I think, having a decent season. So, yeah, I'm going down the middle. If I was to lean towards any team, it probably would be Brentford, to be honest. I can't really, going off form alone, I can't really back Wolves right now. But, yeah, I'm going to say an entertaining 2-2.
I like that. It's decent, that. It wasn't boring. It was quite exciting, going for a few goals there. Share your thoughts on that one, guys. Brentford versus Wolves. The next game is also quite a big game in the bottom half of the table as Leicester City take on AFC Bournemouth. Do you know what? Leicester have not won yet, but I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, they're not that bad.
No, they're not.
They're not bad, are they?
No, they're not bad at all.
I mean, they gave Arsenal a real go, and what a goal. I think the equaliser was from Justin. He hit that well. Blimmin' it went in off the post on the volley. Yeah, really heartbreaking for the Leicester fans to concede those late goals. And I know there are a few Leicester fans that are not the biggest fans of Steve Cooper, but I think he's going to give you a chance. I can't say with certainty that you're going to stay up, but now that there's going to be no points deduction, I think with Steve Cooper you're going to have a chance. And this is a decent game to try and get something. Bournemouth are decent. They obviously beat Southampton on the Monday night. And as for this one, Sophie, I might go for another draw actually.
I was tempted to.
1-1. Yeah, I just think Leicester, I think they might get something, but are they going to get a win just yet? I'm not sure. Draw.
I was so tempted to say a draw as well, but you know what? I might give Leicester something. I've seen that...
A draw is something.
No, but something more.
Something special.
Yeah,
something special.
Something special. So what I've seen from them is, as we've mentioned, they're not a bad team. I don't want to say impressed because they've not done enough to really impress me so far, but I'm going to give them a win. And I like Bournemouth. I don't often go against Bournemouth because sometimes I quite like the way they play. I think most seasons they're classed as the underdog, so I almost like rooting for the underdog. But in this one, maybe Leicester are the underdogs, and I think there's going to be a bit of a reaction from not getting anything from the Arsenal game. So Leicester 2-1 for me.
Go on.
Yeah, I get the first win.
Look at us. I'm backing Wolves to win. You're backing Leicester to win. We're on the side of the teams in the bottom six, aren't we? Share your thoughts, guys. It does feel like a big week for those teams down at the bottom. Some favourable games, maybe. The next one, Sophie, is not favourable for Fulham. They go away to Manchester City. Let's give Fulham credit. They beat Nottingham Forest. We didn't predict them to do that, so credit to them. A Raul Jimenez penalty, and they saw the job through. Against Man City, it's Man City, isn't it? The thing is, Man City are not at their best at the moment. They've just drawn their last two games. I didn't think they were amazing against Newcastle, and they're without Rodri. But if they're going to win the title, they can't keep drawing. They have to get a win now. And I will back Man City, but I could see Fulham making it close. Man City 2, Fulham 1.
I'm going to say 1-0 Man City. Last week I'd said I'm really tempted to go for a 1-1 against Newcastle. That was my gut feeling, and I didn't go for it, and that came true, which is a little bit annoying. But I think Fulham are more than capable of even getting something from this game. What we've seen in recent weeks, I've been really impressed with. They've been putting in some solid performances, but it is Man City, and I feel like there needs to be a reaction from Pep and Pep's boys, because right now the draws aren't enough, as you say, to win the league, and it's looking very, very tight up there. So they need the 3 points for me, and I think they're only just going to do it. I think it's going to be possibly a late one, really edgy game for me, but Man City are going to do it. So 1-0.
1-0. Yeah, share your thoughts, guys. I mean, ultimately the 3 points is the most important thing, but I don't think Man City are going to be too convincing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not going to be like a little 3-4-0.
A little 3-4-0, yeah. The next game is in East London. It's West Ham versus Ipswich. This is an interesting one because Ipswich are drawing their way to safety. They lost to Liverpool, they lost to Man City, and then they've drawn. And they take on West Ham, who are not really that convincing. I mean, they got a draw against Brentford, which I did predict, 1-1. I think West Ham naturally come into this as slight favourites, but I don't think there's much in this. And look, it'd be some statement if Ipswich get their first win here, but once again, if they draw, it's not a bad result. 2-2.
Ooh, an entertaining
and
one again.
A public apology might be coming.
Yeah, so I had messaged Matthew after the...
Matthew?
So I had messaged Matt after the Ipswich game and said I'm going to have to apologise to the fans. I hold my hands up. I got it very, very wrong against Aston Villa. I thought they would have way too much class. Completely got that one wrong. So as I say, I hold my hands up and I apologise to the Ipswich Town fans. So much so that I'm giving you boys the win against West Ham. Not just because of my poor prediction last week, which going off that, they'll probably think, oh, I've got no chance of winning now. But West Ham have looked pretty poor so far this season. Underwhelming, considering I thought they had a pretty good summer transfer window. They have got some good players. It's just not clicking right now for me. Then you've got Ipswich, who have that fight against them. Delap, by the way, is some sign and he's some player.
His second goal against Villa.
Yeah, it was so good. Like the quality to then bring it in field and then switch to the left and put it in. You just think, oh, some player. Like, he's young as well. So I think Ipswich are going to have more fight. As you said, it's not a bad result to get a draw, but I think they're getting all 3 points here. 2-1 to the Tractor Boys.
2-1, wow. Yeah, share your thoughts, guys. I would not be surprised if that happens, honestly. But the way Ipswich are going, it makes sense to go for a draw.
Yeah.
The next game, Sophie, is at Goodison. It's Everton versus Newcastle in the Anthony Gordon derby. Everton, Sophie, I backed them last week. Go on, lads. 2-1 winners against Palace. And Newcastle, we did say, oh, we're tempted to give them something, but we didn't. And they did get something. So credit to them. They took a draw off Man City. And this one's set up quite nicely. I think, even though I backed Everton to win last week and they won, they've now got to a point where they've jumped up a few places. And I think
they take the foot off the gas.
They're going to take the foot off the gas and fall back in. And then they'll move forwards again. They're like that. I reckon Newcastle need the win. Everton 1, Newcastle 2.
Yeah, I'm going for the same. I'm saying 2-1 Newcastle. I think... do you know, I wouldn't even be surprised if Everton went 1-0 up again. It seems the way that when they go 1-0 up, they lose the game. If they go behind, then you think, oh, do you know what? They've not gone 1-0 up. They might actually get something from it. And it happened against Palace. So if they go behind in this one, I might fancy them to get something. But no, I think they're going to take the lead. But then I wouldn't even be surprised if Anthony Gordon scored against them, you know. I'm going to say 2-1 Newcastle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share your thoughts, guys. Next up, Sophie, we go to Villa Park. It's Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Now, feels like two teams at polar opposite ends of the world right now. Aston Villa, let's start with them. They are playing Bayern Munich at home in the Champions League this week. It's a massive week for them.
Yeah.
If they could win that Bayern Munich game, that would be amazing. And I do think it is possible. I'll tell you what I think is really possible, them beating Man United.
Oh, yeah.
I think it looks very, very easy on paper at the minute. Now, I've tried to be nice to Manchester United this season. I've given them some winning predictions, and I've even had Man United fans saying, I'm surprised you're being so nice to us and stuff. But they were absolutely...
Goodbye, Mr. Nice Guy.
They were absolutely dreadful against Tottenham.
So bad.
Fernandes gets a silly red card, and they absolutely capitulated. I think they look weak. I think they look spineless. I think there's no leaders. And I think I'm going to go for a bonus point. Aston Villa 4-1.
Oh, see, last time I went very heavy in favour of Aston Villa, and it didn't pay off for me. So I'm going to say Aston Villa 2-0. I don't see United scoring at the moment. They come close sometimes, but they're not clinical enough. As you've mentioned, they've not got the fight, they've not got the desire, they're not playing for the badge. This club is so rich on history, and the players don't seem to care that they're playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world. Someone better tell the players that on the pitch because they're not playing like it. It's dreadful. I feel for the fans. I think it could be another poor performance. Villa 2-0.
Yeah. Do you know what? Here's a thought. If I was a Manchester United fan and I worked as security at Old Trafford, I would go up to Sir Alex Ferguson's box, be like, can you come with me a second? I'd point him towards the dressing room and let him go in on the players because
just take them wrong turn and oops.
His old school approach is what those players need.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ten Hag is under massive amounts of pressure. I think the players have looked really poor this season, and like you say, there is no fight. Man United fans, do share your thoughts, but I think you can agree with us that it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Next up, Soph, let's go to Stamford Bridge. It's Chelsea versus Nottingham Forest. I think this will be a good game.
Yeah.
Chelsea absolutely flying, or should I say Cole Palmer is absolutely flying. What a game. 4-2 before half-time against Brighton, and Cole Palmer scored all 4, and the hat-trick, the one that was the free kick, unbelievable. He is honestly a joke. And if I'm a Nottingham Forest fan, I'm a little bit like,
concerned about this one.
I don't want to play Cole Palmer. But let's give Forest credit. They've had a good start to the season. Yes, they did lose to Fulham 1-0. It's their first defeat of the season. I didn't see that coming. I know a few Forest fans have said that the referee had some questionable decisions in that one, but I think collectively we can still agree it was probably their worst performance of the season so far. The funny thing is, Sophie, Forest have done pretty well in their last couple of visits to Stamford Bridge. They took 3 points off them last season away from home, and I think they drew away the season before. I'm going to say, the thing is, I think the Forest fans have noticed that when I back them, they're not winning. And when
so they don't want you to back them.
And when I didn't back them against Liverpool, they won. So let's go with Chelsea. It makes more sense. I'm going to go Chelsea 2, Forest 1.
See, I'm going to chuck another goal in there because what I've said about Chelsea is they've looked very, very good going forwards. Not the best defensively, they're not that sure of themselves at the back, but they're just outscoring teams at the moment. So if they could just shore up their back line, the keeper, if they get that defensive unit ticking as well as the attack, I think they're going to have a really good season. But, I mean, if you're outscoring teams, you're still getting the 3 points. Yeah, Forest, it's a difficult one because I have been impressed with them for the majority of the season so far, but this is Chelsea. And the way Chelsea are playing, which I didn't think I'd be saying this, Chelsea 3-1.
Yeah.
They just look very good. I do think Forest will be in this one, and I mean, I didn't fancy them to get anything at Anfield. They turned up, got the win at Anfield. They played very, very well as a team. And walked away with the 3 points. So
here's a point: it might actually suit Forest the way they play against the big teams.
Yes,
because
more open.
They've got Murillo, they've got Milenkovic. They absorb the pressure, and then you give it to Hudson-Odoi. He cuts in and he scores, and you win the game. We will see. Forest and Chelsea fans, share your thoughts. The final game, Sophie, is Brighton versus Tottenham, and it's really tricky to predict this one because they're both really good. They're both vulnerable at the back sometimes, but you know, what a win for Tottenham away at Manchester United. My only problem with that game is it should have been more for Tottenham. I think they were so good and so dominant and could have won 7 or 8-0. As for Brighton, yes, they lost to Cole Palmer and Chelsea. I think this will be close. I'm going to go 1-1. Although something's telling me it could be 1-1 and then someone snatches it at the end. But I'm going to go for a draw. Yeah,
I think this really could go either way. It just depends who's going to turn up on the day. But I am going to pick a winner. And I'm leaning towards Spurs again. I thought it was a very, very solid performance against Man United. I think at times, like going to Brighton now, I think at times Brighton, they looked okay going forward against Chelsea. But at the back, that was just really poor. They just looked lost sometimes, which is a bit strange from that Brighton team. So, if I'm going to pick a winner, it's going to be Spurs. 2-1. 2-1, there you go. I like that. Fair play. Get your predictions down below, guys, for Brighton versus Tottenham, because that wraps up the Premier League predictions for this week. So that is it for another international break now. We've still got a couple of videos until the international break rolls around, and we will have a few going out during the international break. Make sure to support us by hitting that like button. It takes 2 seconds and we're so close to getting 4,000 on these videos, so hit that like button. Make sure as well to subscribe to help us get to 78,000, and thank you as always for joining me. Thank you. We will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace out.